All right, on this day before Thanksgiving, going to bring in our State House insiders. Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist, Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist. Guys, here we are. The holiday is tomorrow, and we've got Christmas coming and New Year's down the road. Supply chain issues continue to be a problem here in the United States. But Governor McMaster, with an executive order now just yesterday, trying to ease some restrictions when it comes to the trucking industry, 18-wheelers, getting them on the road faster, quicker, and longer to get these supplies out. Dave, what are you hearing at the State House about this executive order?
It actually is part of an important part of realizing what South Carolina's economy is based on and what we do with the Port of Charleston. It is the largest deep water port in the Southeast, and it allows that two-way traffic of the big ships that are coming in. So think about what's going on over on the California side of the country right now. And they've got a backup right now. It looks like I-20 in the middle of rush hour right now off the coast of California. But Henry McMaster right now is really trying to open up the arteries of business in South Carolina so that we can get more products coming in to South Carolina and distributed all throughout the Southeast. Keep in mind, from the Port of Charleston, you can be all the way to Chicago within 48 hours. And that's an important part, especially as we begin thinking about coming into the Christmas season.
Dave is right. I think the governor is doing what he feels in the best interest of South Carolina and business for the state, as well as opportunity. Here's what we know. This pandemic we're living through, the worst in most of our lifetimes, has caused havoc in many areas of this country and really revealed some true fault lines that exist within the system we call the United States of America. And so while the White House is doing everything they can in order to make business friendly, to make sure goods and services move swiftly, I think it's up to local leaders and state leaders, like what the governor is doing in many states around the country, to do the same. What we do know is prices are starting to come down and the world is starting to open back up, but this will be a slow process and it will not happen overnight. So I commend the governor for doing what he feels best in the best interest of South Carolina.
I want to talk about redrawing district lines now. Next Wednesday, the House will be coming back to Columbia to deal with the ongoing issue there, but there's still some controversy attached to redrawing these district lines. And now there's word that a couple of the districts in South Carolina could become redder, could become bluer. We're talking about the 1st and the 6th district. Antoine, what are you hearing about this over at the State House?
The proposed map released by the Senate, by the state Senate, congressional map wise, the congressional district in Charleston, the 1st congressional district, will move from a plus 3% Republican district to a plus 9% Republican district. So that means the 6th congressional district, held by the majority whip Jim Clyburn, would become even more Democratic. Is that good for the state? I don't think so, because I think the whole purpose in redrawing these lines is to create opportunity and to create competition. You do not create competition or make these districts competitive by making one bluer and one redder. We should not look at redistricting from a partisan lens and making it us versus them, or making something more Democratic, more Republican.
It goes back to what we talked about last week, JR. This is your U.S. constitutional lesson right now, because we have a census every 10 years so that we can figure out exactly what's going on with population, how it's being distributed or redistributed across the state. And that's what causes the redrawing of these lines. And to Antoine's point, they are doing work right now to make the district that is Jim Clyburn's office a district, a bluer district, and Nancy Mace's a redder district. And that's going to be a very interesting play, because somewhere behind the scenes in that, you're going to see some things that are going to be going on when it comes to the way that politics plays themselves out. But keep in mind, we talked about this back in 2019 and in 2020. Elections have consequences, and when you've got a majority of Republicans in the House and the Senate, you're going to have lines that are going to be drawn more to a Republican stance, and that's just part of the way that political lines get drawn and have been drawn for hundreds of years.
Antoine, can we see lawsuits because of all of this?
We're going to see lawsuits, and do not expect them to be settled right away. These things tend to be drag out for extended periods of time when we see these type lawsuits. And so while the maps may read one thing going into next election cycle, that could change based on what the court does. And that's not just relegated or isolated to South Carolina. We're going to see lawsuits all over the country.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind on that track, JR, is the fact that the Supreme Court actually came down with a case last year. I was talking with the judge a little while ago, and the fact that a lot of the responsibility and the way that things are going to be done has been given back to the states, back to those state legislatures. And that's something that the U.S. Supreme Court came in and said. And so it calls into question how far these arguments are going to be able to go on the federal court side.
All right, the day before Thanksgiving, we have time here this evening to find out what each of you are thankful for. Dave, we'll begin with you. What are you thankful for here in 2021?
Phenomenal wife. I have 10 great kids, 2 great in-law kids, and a grandson that was born this year. And I've got a Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that I'm going to be forever grateful for. And that is what I get to celebrate this Thanksgiving.
You know, I have so much to be grateful for, from family to friends to even sometimes my enemies. I'm thankful for it all. And truth be told, as Dave said, I'm just thankful that God was kind enough to show all of us grace and mercy and allow us to see another Thanksgiving season. And so, JR and Dave, I'm thankful for you guys too, and the entire WLTX family.
To be a part of this for the last 5 years, JR, has been a really great privilege for us, and we're grateful for it.
All right, and before I let you go, we have to ask about this weekend's big Carolina-Clemson game. I saw a meme today, guys, that said Shane Beamer, Stanley Steamer, Dreamweaver, Tigers by 40. Do you agree with that, Dave?
All Cox all the way.
I'm going to be with the winner, so whoever is the winner, that's the team I decided to choose for, cheer for.
All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.